missing, but even the sheriff today said they have no confirmation that the truck was actually there. They're not even for sure it is definitely connected. There are so many pieces of this puzzle they just haven't figured out yet. But another interesting thing, Marnie, he did confirm for me today that both of Summer's parents did pass a polygraph test.
Hey, what's happening, guys? WhiteBoyRadio back with another one. Hey, I'm just leaving off the last live we did. I called Benjamin and I called the jail and stuff. In that title to that live, I said that I would be telling a story about Don and Candus and their polygraph test. This opening clip, if you have never seen this before, shame on you. Now, with that being said, not if you're somebody who is not spiteful and runs through all the chats and says all these mean things or repeats tragedy pimp rhetoric like, why haven't they passed their lie detector test or show proof? You know, Candus one time on my panel said that she was willing to show the results of her lie detector test. And as she was on my panel, I did entertain it, okay? But after the live was done, through conversation with her, I absolutely declined the offer. What would that do to these people who, it doesn't matter what you show, it doesn't matter what you can prove, some of these people, they will find a way to make 100 lives that are just complete misinformation out of, something truthful. I know in the beginning here, it's going to hurt some of these tragedy pimps to learn that that's Brian Entin, somebody who I've personally met out there and had interactions with, searching for Gabby Petito and trying to find the reward for Brian Laundrie, his whole news crew. That was him when he went up to Ben Hill and spoke with Don, and that is him telling the other reporter that Sheriff Ronnie Lawson told him that both parents passed both lie detector tests. Both parents. That's coming from Ronnie Lawson. The same guy. So some of these people will say, well, have Candus show her results and this and that. You don't even believe that she passed it. You're years behind. But you're believing things from Ronnie Lawson. I've made a video. I've told you guys he's kind of a media whore. I told you the story about what he did to Don in court. Okay, he never cleared up. They're not working with us. He never cleared that up, which totally ran like wildfire here on YouTube. But unfortunately, he has to admit that they passed a lie detector test, both of them. Now, as far as this, all that's old information. And if you know all that, and if you are with me to this point in the video, I really salute you, okay? Especially people who support the parents and believe in innocent until proven guilty. I really appreciate you as far as this. There's going to be somebody that watches this video that's never saw that clip and has believed a Josh, a Voices, or one of these idiots, a Prayer Garden, that really thinks in their heart that they haven't passed it. Just like when I made the short word, I'm showing TBI has said that they are working with all investigations. Okay, but here you have it. Anyway, meat potatoes. I talked to Don and Candus about this. I was going to say it in the live the other night. I got busy. We had some fun. But on a serious note, when it comes to missing Summerwells and her parents, it actually took 4 days to get this polygraph test all the way complete. 4 separate days. You might ask yourself why. It's because these people were stressed out. They weren't sleeping. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Your kid's missing. You don't know what your mind frame is. You know what your mind frame is. It took like 4 days, man, to get this done. But yeah, they did pass it. And I was talking to Don about this because I've said this on my channel before. I myself had to take a poly once, okay? And I was explaining this to Don, and he could relate. It's very nerve-wracking. You're there, and the person doing this test to you, it's awkward. There's no conversation. It was a he for me. Same with Don. This guy is just asking you straight questions, and then he's looking at you and then looking at this machine, and you can hear the noise and stuff. So there's like anxiety, even when you're telling the truth, there's anxiety that you think, it's like a big mind F. You think that you're failing and you're not. It's really weird. But as I was explaining my experience to Don, I could totally understand where it's coming from. But they passed. They passed. They passed. Ronnie Lawson, told a good journalist, if I would have known the Wells like I do now then, I would have suggested that they get Hey JB down there to do the interview. Brian Entin, there's nothing wrong with him. He's credible to a point, but in personal interactions with him, a little shenanigans. But yeah, it took 4 days for them to complete this test, guys, and it was straining. It's not that they had to retake the test or anything like that. It's just to get through all the questions. Your mental state, man. This is a time where their baby girl's gone. They have the FBI calling them. There's these idiot YouTubers starting the shenanigans, all invading their space. There's people here blowing up their inboxes, blowing up their messages. It's an overload. It's overload. Okay, and they weren't sleeping right. They're staying up all hours of the night, worried, sick. But they absolutely passed with flying colors. Their polygraph test, both of them. I've debated about having Candus come on and show it, but in all reality, what would that do? And what I think happened here is, looking back, I'm enjoying covering a little bit of coverage on the Sebastian Rogers case because you're seeing the same things happen, okay? The same creators are using the same narrative on YouTube, but the hateful viewers are throwing the same stones, and you're seeing the same patterns being repeated in these two cases. But we just learned the other night where Seth Rogers and Chris Proudfoot are on panel together that he did pass his as well, as far as Chris goes. I'm not sure about Seth. Sometimes in these cases, as I'm listening to Chris and Seth kind of talk and argue a little bit, you hear that Chris is, he's using his points to prove he wants to debunk a lot of this misinformation stuff, but he's held back a little bit. And in both of these cases, okay, I know from talking to Don and Candus and from listening to Chris with Seth, there's instances where Seth is talking to Chris where you could tell the public doesn't know what they're talking about, but they're arguing on a panel and they're coming to an agreement because, Chris is like, hey, man, he's saying behind the scenes things. There's a lot of that with Summerwells' case as well. Just because the public doesn't know the information, just because YouTube doesn't have all the information, it doesn't mean anybody's hiding anything. That's not what it is, okay? The same reason I'm not going to ever give these people what they're looking for by entertaining, having Candus show the lie detector test, because people thus far don't even understand that she passed it. And by me presenting it, it will just cause a whole bunch of shenanigans on YouTube streets. And you guys know it's true, okay? But with that being said, going back, she doesn't have to come out and say, hey, over here, pass my poly. She doesn't have to. They probably told her to lay low. To relate to social media is as less as possible, because these people will go through wild speculation with these cases and actually hurt the case. The TBI has said, they tweeted it, and they said, hey, only send in credible tips, not from YouTube, not from Facebook. Speculation hurts the case. It makes the job of law enforcement more difficult. On the TBI webpage, there's a whole little section for Summerwells. There now is, unfortunately, also for Sebastian Rogers. But if you look at the Summerwells little section there on the TBI homepage under missing people, there is a whole bunch of Q&A questions. There's a whole bunch of answers that they provide. And as you read them, it's all YouTube speculation. It's the dumbest shit. And it's cool that they have it up there, okay? But there's going to be somebody watching this video that's never went there, that's never read that, and they're still in the chats asking the same repetitive questions. But why do you think the TBI has that up there? Why do you think they have a preset question and a preset answer? And I'm talking about at least 20 of them on Summerwells' page because of all these idiot tips and these tragedy pimps that run a narrative to drive people like you to go start all this drama in chats. And all they're doing is manipulating you to call the TBI, to email the TBI. But there's a whole section. Who knows how long it took to come up with that, to write that, to print that? That's a lot of wasted resources. That could have been all time put in to finding little Summerwells. Her parents did pass. It took about 4 days. It was extremely stressful, but they passed fast. They got the results fast. There's a lot of other information that the public doesn't have to know, and it's not because it would hurt the Wells or make them look in a different light. It's just because why? Not everything is needed. The focus is on Summerwells. But the people on the internet, they want everything right now. They want to know everything. And if you don't provide everything, you're hiding something, which is crazy. You know, my takeaway on this, as I'm watching the Sebastian Rogers stuff, we saw the same thing. People were, oh, Seth passed his lie detector test and Chris didn't, his, and it's just speculation, all rumors. Come out to be totally the backward situation. I don't think anybody I spoke with about in this video, whether that be Candus Wells, Don Wells, Seth Rogers, or Chris Proudfoot, I don't think any of them individuals hurt or had something to do with either child missing. I don't. I think sometimes the police come to these things and give you a general statement or information, and you have to just say yes or no. And yeah, it could be tough to agree with, but maybe what it is just what it is. Maybe it's not worth overly looking into. Maybe that's just what happened. But spreading her name, sharing her pictures, both Summerwells and Sebastian Rogers, is totally worth overthinking and sharing. But yes, there's Brian Entin. Don and Candus Wells passed their lie detector test. It took about 4 days. It's a very stressful time. It was very it's an anxiety-ridden event. I took one for some trouble that I got when I was a juvenile. And look, if you haven't heard the story, I failed it. I failed my poly. And check this out. I was 100% innocent in that case. I just got overly nervous. And for what it's worth, it was my lawyer's recommendation that we do it. Because as a juvenile, when I was a juvenile, I believe you could enter into court. The laws changed after that. I'm not sure 100% on that. All I know is my paid lawyer, not a public defender, hooked it up for me to go and get it. And I paid for it. Okay, but I got so nervous, okay, that I failed it. I don't know what questions I failed or how bad that I did. I just know that he told me that I failed it. But that should tell you something, okay? That should tell you something. For these parents who have passed, until the next one, stay sharing that poster and hit that like button, man.